Today we're diving into a classic horror film, Hostel. What's most chilling is that this movie was inspired by true events. Its portrayal was so intense, it even impacted local tourism. The story unfolds in the vibrant city of Amsterdam. Paxton and Josh, fed up with their monotonous campus life, decide to travel here seeking excitement. Along the way, they're joined by a newfound friend named Ollie. Thrilled, they head straight to a lively bar. Paxton quickly meets two attractive girls and calls Josh over to join them. However, when the girls notice Josh wearing a fanny pack, they immediately think he's uncool and politely turn them down. Paxton is embarrassed, scolding Josh for always carrying around that outdated bag. While the two argue, their buddy Ollie is already getting cozy with someone, sending them a teasing photo as proof. Seeing Ollie's success, the two friends suddenly feel anxious. Scanning the crowd, their eyes lock onto two stunning girls. This time, Josh is the one tasked with making the first move. But he's so captivated he accidentally bumps into another woman. Her boyfriend, irritated, immediately confronts Josh. Since Josh doesn't understand the local language, fists quickly fly. Just as Ollie returns from the restroom, he sees security escorting his friends out. The trio then decides to explore Amsterdam's famous red light district. The dazzling sights leave Josh overwhelmed, but Paxton and Ollie are having the time of their lives. When they finally return to their hostel, it's already past curfew. With the main entrance locked, they grab a ladder to climb back inside, but accidentally end up entering someone else's room. Inside are three people, a man and a woman passionately engaged, while a guy named Alex watches enthusiastically. Ollie, fascinated, eagerly introduces everyone. After chatting a bit, Alex learns they're here searching for thrills. He enthusiastically recommends a hidden spot. In Slovakia to the east, there's an incredible hostel overflowing with beautiful women. Initially, they're skeptical about Alex's description. Seeing their doubt, Alex shows them pictures from his recent trip. After viewing these tempting images, the trio is instantly sold. They eagerly ask Alex for the exact location, planning to set off first thing in the morning. Alex explains this hostel is incredibly secretive. You won't find it on any map. You can only get there by following his special instructions. The next day, the three friends hop on a train to Slovakia. Just as they're cheerfully chatting away, an old man interrupts their conversation with his loud phone call. After hanging up, the man politely apologizes and joins their conversation. Finding the old man friendly, the group quickly hits it off. During their talk, the old man starts eating his lunch, prompting Paxton to politely offer him a fork. The man declines, stating that the food had sacrificed its life to fill their stomachs. He prefers touching his food directly with his hands, making the sacrifice seem more meaningful. Suddenly, the old man places his hand on Josh's thigh. Startled, Josh reacts explosively, angrily cursing at him. Surprised by Josh's intense reaction, the old man quickly grabs his bag and leaves the compartment. The friends shrug it off, assuming it's just a strange local custom. Soon, they reach the location Alex described. The area is extremely remote, and communicating with the taxi driver proves challenging due to the language barrier. Yet the driver already knows that all young tourists dropped here head straight to that mysterious town. Soon enough, they arrive at the picturesque village. Ecstatic at the sight of this paradise-like setting, they start dancing around with excitement. Following Alex's precise instructions, they quickly locate the mysterious hostel. Immediately upon entering, they're captivated by a beautiful Japanese woman passing by. Glancing around, the group confidently confirms they've come to the right place. At the reception stands an alluring, mature lady. Ollie can hardly stop drooling. She informs the group they might have roommates sharing their accommodations. After checking in and grabbing their keys, they eagerly head to their room. Opening the door, they're thrilled to discover their roommates are two attractive young women. The women introduce themselves as Natalia and Svetlana. Natalia is particularly charming and generous. Smiling warmly, she tells them they're heading to the hot springs, kindly inviting the boys to join them. Josh and Paxton glanced at the two gorgeous girls and thought they really looked amazing. Without hesitation, they followed the ladies straight to the hot springs. When they arrived, the view was simply heavenly. After briefly introducing themselves to Natalia and Svetlana, the guys started to feel a bit bored, so they decided to head to a bar near the hostel instead. Josh had his eyes set on Natalia, whose figure was absolutely stunning, while Paxton was attracted to Svetlana. Meanwhile, Ollie's natural charm helped him quickly win over the beautiful receptionist. At that moment, Natalia lit up a cigarette. Josh, bothered by the smoke because of his asthma, started feeling short of breath. He decided to step outside for some fresh air. Outside, he bumped into a little kid who immediately asked Josh for money. Soon, more children started gathering around, making Josh feel increasingly uneasy. Just then, the older man they'd met on the train appeared, tossing a few coins to scatter the children away. He explained to Josh these kids belonged to local gangs. They committed all kinds of illegal activities and were willing to do anything for money. It was best not to provoke them. Josh, grateful, invited the old man into the bar for a drink as a thank you. He also apologized for his rude outburst on the train, playfully placing his hand on the old man's leg as a joke. The old man, seeing Josh's innocence, had already forgotten about the incident on the train. However, while chatting, Josh noticed a distinctive tattoo of a dog's head on the old man's arm. Before Josh could ask about it, Natalia walked over and whisked him away. The 3 guys and 3 girls then returned to the hostel. After a passionate night, Paxton woke up to realize Oli was nowhere to be found. Apparently, he hadn't returned the entire night. Thinking Oli might have gone for breakfast, they checked the dining area but saw no sign of him. Feeling uneasy, Paxton and Josh approached the receptionist and discovered Oli had checked out earlier that morning. Panicking, Paxton called Oli's phone, but it kept ringing without an answer. Josh decided to leave a note with the receptionist, asking her to give it to Oli if he returned. With no other options, the pair prepared to search the town for Oli. Just as they were about to leave, a Japanese girl named Kana approached, desperately telling them her friend had also gone missing. She showed them a picture of her missing friend alongside Oli, believing they might have disappeared together. Paxton found this odd, as Oli didn't particularly like Japanese girls. Still, hoping to find Oli, Paxton asked Kana to send him the photo. On their search, they were once again blocked by the group of kids. This time, instead of money, the kids demanded candy. Paxton initially refused, but Josh reminded him how dangerous these kids could be, suggesting they just give them a few coins to avoid trouble. Just as they were leaving, they spotted someone walking by, wearing Oli's distinctive jacket. They immediately chased after him, accidentally ending up inside a museum full of ancient torture instruments. When they caught up to the guy, they realized it wasn't Oli, just someone with the same jacket. Paxton asked where he got it, and the man insisted it was his own. Figuring it was merely a coincidence, Paxton let it go, and they left the museum. Right after exiting, Paxton received a photo message from Oli's phone showing only Oli's head with a brief cryptic text attached. Unbeknownst to them, Oli had already met a horrifying fate. His headless body discarded. The Japanese girl Kana had been searching for also appeared in that gruesome place. After finishing with Oli, a mysterious man coldly began working on the Japanese girl, mutilating her foot. Meanwhile, Josh kept calling Oli. But this time Oli's phone wasn't ringing. It was off. Josh casually assumed the battery had died and asked Kana when she planned to leave. Kana replied she would leave the next morning, alone since her friend had vanished. Paxton and Josh mentioned they were heading back tomorrow too, so they could travel together. At this moment, Natalia and Svetlana reappeared, inviting Paxton and Josh for one last party at the bar. Josh initially refused, worried about Oli's disappearance, but Paxton convinced him that since it was their last night, they should at least have some fun. They paired off again, Paxton with Svetlana, Josh with Natalia. Amidst the noisy crowd, Josh hallucinated Oli's face, perhaps from days of exhaustion. Feeling uneasy, Josh declined Natalia's advances and decided to return to the hostel alone for some rest. Before leaving, he asked Paxton if he wanted to head back as well, but Paxton, having a great time, told Josh to go ahead without him. Feeling dizzy and disoriented, Josh was escorted by the receptionist to a new room for rest. Just as the receptionist was about to leave, a pair of men's feet ominously appeared in the doorway. Meanwhile, Paxton felt increasingly unsettled. Natalia and Svetlana suddenly started ignoring him, isolating him completely at the bar. Feeling dizzy, Paxton decided to freshen up in the restroom. But in his confused state, he accidentally wandered into a storage room instead, and a worker locked the door behind him. Paxton struggled to open it, but dizziness overcame him, and he passed out right there. Meanwhile, Josh's fate had already turned grim. He woke up tied to a chair, with a masked man silently standing before him. Without saying a word, the man took a power drill and brutally plunged it into Josh's leg. When the man finally removed his mask, Josh was horrified to recognize him as the older man from the train. Terrified, Josh asked why he was doing this. The old man calmly replied he once dreamed of being a surgeon, but was denied by his Parkinson's disease, which caused his hands to shake. But here, he could fulfill any twisted desire. Then he cruelly cut Josh's Achilles tendon, removing the restraints and mockingly opening the door, telling Josh he was free to go. Unable to walk, Josh painfully dragged himself toward the exit. Just as he reached the door, the old man stopped him. Grabbing Josh's head, he whispered, He couldn't allow Josh to leave so easily. Without mercy, he ended Josh's life, right then and there. The next morning, someone finally found Paxton passed out in the storage room, still disoriented. Back at the hostel, Paxton realized Josh had their room key, forcing him to get a replacement at reception. But the receptionist's words immediately alarmed Paxton. His room had already been checked out. Paxton found this extremely suspicious. If Josh had checked out, why didn't he send any message? But the receptionist insisted he knew nothing else, only that the room was vacated. Reluctantly, Paxton requested another room. He then asked about Kana, as they'd planned to travel together. The receptionist mentioned Kana had left early that morning, unaware of her destination. Entering his new room, Paxton was again met by two new girls changing clothes. Just before they left, they casually asked if he wanted to join them at the hot springs. Hearing these familiar words, Paxton immediately sensed something terribly wrong. Feeling isolated and helpless, Paxton's only clue remained the mysterious photo Kana had sent him. Tracing the location from the photo, he rushed to where it was taken. Suddenly, the same gang of kids snatched Paxton's phone. Frantically, he grabbed one child by the neck, but realizing it was just a kid, he reluctantly let go. With no options left, Paxton turned to the police. The officers assured him they could recover his phone, but as for his missing friends, they couldn't do much. After all, everyone involved was an adult. His friends had likely just moved on to another city. The police told Paxton he could send some photos to nearby stations. If someone resembling his friends showed up, they'd contact him immediately. With no other options, Paxton headed back to the hotel. But on his way back, Paxton suddenly spotted Natalia quickly passing by. Curious, he followed her into a nearby bar. Inside, he found both Natalia and Svetlana looking extremely exhausted. Yet, upon seeing Paxton, they warmly greeted him. Paxton urgently asked Natalia if she knew where Josh was. Natalia casually replied that Josh was together with Oli, attending an exclusive art exhibit. Under Paxton's pressing questions, Natalia had her male friend drive them to the mysterious exhibition. When they arrived, Paxton stopped a random passerby, asking about the exhibit inside. The passerby ominously replied, "Inside, you'll spend all your money." Paxton's curiosity grew stronger. He approached the ticket counter and asked how much the entry was. Strangely, the receptionist replied, "For you, it's free." Stepping inside, Paxton saw a horrifying scene he would never forget. The so-called art exhibit featured the old man dissecting Josh's body. At that moment, Paxton realized the cruel truth. The girls had lured hotel guests here, where they became unwilling participants in these grotesque displays, but the realization came too late. Paxton had already walked straight into their trap. Suddenly, two large men appeared behind Paxton, quickly grabbing and dragging him away. They tied Paxton firmly to a chair, securing his hands and feet with heavy chains. Another muscular man entered the room, announcing coldly that Paxton was fresh merchandise. Paxton desperately begged for mercy, but the man ignored him, casually picking up a large pair of scissors and waving them menacingly in front of Paxton's face. Unsatisfied, he grabbed a hook and violently stabbed it into Paxton's leg, causing him to scream in agony. Annoyed by Paxton's screams, the man roughly forced a gag into his mouth. In the struggle, Paxton suddenly realized the chair he was tied to was slightly loose. If he could just buy himself some time, maybe he could break free. But the torturer soon picked up a chainsaw, tauntingly waving it near Paxton's face. To ensure Paxton wouldn't suffocate, the man removed the gag from his mouth. Then, without hesitation, he sliced off some of Paxton's fingers. As the torturer prepared to finish him off, he carelessly stepped on the gag lying on the ground. In a shocking accident, the chainsaw slipped from his hand, falling onto his own leg, brutally injuring him. In the chaos, the chainsaw also cut through Paxton's handcuffs. Seeing his chance, Paxton used all his strength, broke free from the chair, quickly grabbed a nearby pistol, and eliminated the torturer. Hearing the commotion, another muscular guard rushed to investigate. Seeing his colleague lying on the floor, he froze in shock. Before he could react, Paxton fired twice, swiftly neutralizing him. Paxton then found keys to free himself fully from the restraints. Quickly, Paxton put on the torturer's clothes and moved cautiously into the adjacent room. Inside, he was horrified to find numerous bodies. A desperate idea struck him. He could disguise himself as a corpse and let someone carry him out. But to Paxton's dismay, this sinister place had its own crematorium on site. Left with no choice, Paxton attacked the crematorium worker from behind, grabbed a hammer, and fled into an elevator. In confusion, Paxton accidentally ended up in the locker room upstairs. Peering through a window, he saw a policeman casually talking with some suspicious men. He realized this place had remained hidden because the local police were protecting it. Now completely alone, he understood he had to save himself. Inside a locker, he found fresh clothes, and strangely, a membership card for the exhibit tucked inside a pocket. As he examined it, another torturer walked in. Mistaking Paxton for a client who had just finished his session, the man casually asked about Paxton's experience. Paxton tried to slip out silently, but the man suddenly stopped him, suspiciously asking to see his client tattoo. Paxton stood frozen in panic, unsure what to do. Thankfully, at that exact moment, someone knocked urgently on the locker room door, distracting the torturer. Before leaving, the man asked Paxton with twisted curiosity if he preferred taking down his prey quickly or slowly. Paxton nervously replied he preferred finishing things quickly. The man was disappointed, telling Paxton that since he'd paid good money, he should enjoy the entire process thoroughly. He then casually tossed his gun aside as he left. Now, that discarded gun became Paxton's only weapon. Paxton cautiously snuck outside and reached a car parked nearby. Luckily, the keys were already in the ignition. He was just about to drive away to safety when suddenly he heard a desperate woman's scream echoing from inside the building. Overwhelmed by compassion, Paxton chose to turn back and save the girl. Following the screams, Paxton finally found the right room and burst through the door. Shockingly, the victim inside turned out to be Kana, the Japanese girl he'd met earlier, and the attacker was the same ruthless man from the locker room. Seeing Paxton enter, the torturer snapped at him to find another room for his entertainment. Without hesitation, Paxton shot him down immediately. Hearing the noise, more guards rushed towards them, intent on recapturing them. But Paxton, now familiar with the layout, quickly guided Kana out of the building and into the parked car. Noticing their escape, security guards chased after them in vehicles. Paxton raced towards the train station. Driving through town, they spotted Natalia, Svetlana, and even Alex, the man who initially recommended the hostel. Now Paxton understood. It had all been a meticulously planned trap from the start. Furious, Paxton floored the gas pedal, swiftly taking down all three culprits. Natalia, barely alive, was swiftly finished off by the guards chasing behind. Reaching an intersection, Paxton encountered the same gang of children again. Quickly thinking, he grabbed a large bag of candy from the car, handing it to the kids. In exchange, he asked them to stop the pursuing guards. Loyal to their promise, the kids stood firm, blocking the guards' path. When the guards tried to break through, the kids courageously attacked them, driving them back in defeat. Paxton successfully made it to the train station, but security had already swarmed the station. He and Kana carefully sneaked inside, trying to avoid attention. As they passed an advertising board, Kana saw her own badly scarred reflection for the first time. Unable to bear it, she staggered toward the platform edge. In a tragic instant, as the train rushed into the station, Kana threw herself onto the tracks. The horrified screams of witnesses attracted police and security guards. Using the distraction, Paxton quickly boarded the train unnoticed. He thought his nightmare was finally over, but then he heard a chillingly familiar voice nearby. He turned around to see none other than the old man responsible for Josh's cruel fate. Determined to avenge his friend, Paxton quietly followed the old man off the train. He shadowed him into a restroom and waited until the man was vulnerable. Taking him by surprise, Paxton exacted his revenge, ending the old man's life. Finally free, Paxton boarded another train, leaving this nightmare behind forever. And that's how the story ends. Thank you all for watching.